When Earth fought back, humanity's first stand. In the dimly lit war room of Earth's highest command center, General Sarah Coleman stood before a massive digital display of the galaxy. The Galactic Council had underestimated Earth, treating humanity like a minor annoyance. But today, humanity would remind them of the consequences of such arrogance. The Galactic Council had issued an ultimatum to Earth years earlier, expecting surrender. Earth, a planet deemed insignificant on the cosmic stage, was rich in resources, but relatively young in terms of space travel. The Council saw them as easy prey, ripe for conquest. However, what they hadn't accounted for was the human spirit, an unbreakable force that valued freedom above all else. The Galactic Council's arrival. The invasion had started with an overwhelming display of power. The Council's fleet darkened the skies above Earth, their warships like looming shadows of despair. Thousands of ships, each the size of a city, hung in low orbit. Earth's defensive fleet, though much smaller, was primed and ready, but the technological gap between them was vast. On the bridge of the flagship Resolve, Captain Elena Martinez stood with her hands clasped behind her back. The tension in the air was thick as they watched the alien armada move into position. Around her, her crew worked feverishly to prepare Earth's first major counterattack. "This is it," Elena murmured. "We either stand together today or we fall." Her words were met with solemn nods from the officers around her. Every human on Earth knew the stakes. Their survival, their very existence, was on the line. Humanity's unconventional strategy. Back in the command center, General Coleman studied the Galactic Council's formation. The enemy had superior firepower, shields, and speed. But humans had something they didn't: creativity. In just a few short years, Earth's scientists and engineers had been working on a game-changing piece of technology: the electromagnetic pulse, EMP, cannon. This weapon had the potential to disrupt all electronic systems in a wide radius, rendering even the most advanced ships into floating hunks of metal. "Our only chance is surprise," Coleman said, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. "The EMP cannon is untested in real combat, but if it works, we'll cripple their fleet in one shot." Elena's crew aboard the Resolve held their breath as the weapon was charged. The Council's ships were now in perfect range, oblivious to the trap Earth had set. "The moment of truth, fire," Coleman ordered. A silent pulse rippled through space. For a brief moment, everything seemed still, almost peaceful. Then, in an instant, the Council's armada flickered. Lights on the alien ships dimmed, their engines sputtered, and the once imposing fleet became a collection of drifting, powerless hulks. Cheers erupted across Earth's command centers, but the victory was not yet secure. The EMP cannon had crippled the fleet, but it had not destroyed it. Earth's forces still had to deal with the remaining active ships, not to mention the Council's soldiers, who would likely retaliate in desperation. "Prepare for ground invasions," Elena commanded. "The fight's just beginning." The ground assault begins. On the outskirts of Earth's major cities, dropships descended from the sky, carrying alien soldiers intent on overwhelming Earth's defenses. Human resistance forces, comprised of military and civilians alike, had already been preparing for this moment. Trenches had been dug, defensive structures fortified, and every able-bodied person armed. Sergeant David Hale crouched behind a barricade, his pulsed rifle clutched tightly in his hands. Around him, soldiers and volunteers alike held their positions, waiting for the inevitable onslaught. The ground shook as the first dropships landed, their doors hissing open to reveal tall, armored aliens. These were the Thoron, the Council's elite warriors, known for their brutality in battle. David's heart raced as the Thoron advanced, but this was no time for fear. "Hold your fire," he barked to his squad. "Wait until they're in range." The Thoron marched forward with military precision, their confidence radiating in every step. They believed humans were weak, primitive. They believed this fight would be over in minutes. They were wrong. Humanity strikes back, Now, David shouted. A volley of plasma bolts erupted from the human defenses, lighting up the battlefield. The Thoron were caught off guard by the ferocity of the human attack. For every alien soldier that advanced, 2 were cut down by Earth's defenders, but the Thoron were relentless, and for every one that fell, another seemed to take its place. In the chaos, David noticed a squad of Thoron attempting to flank their position. "We've got to stop them," he shouted, rallying his team. "They're trying to breach the city." As David's team rushed to intercept the flanking Thoron, the battle intensified. Explosions rocked the ground, and the air was filled with the sounds of weapons fire, shouts, and the whine of alien machines. A fight for survival. Meanwhile, back in orbit, Earth's fleet continued to engage the remaining active Council ships. Though their numbers were few, the alien ships still posed a significant threat. Elena guided the Resolve through the battlefield, weaving between wrecks and debris. "Target their command ship," she ordered. "We take that out, and the rest will scatter." The Resolve charged its weapons, aiming at the Council's last functioning warship. Elena knew this shot could decide the fate of the entire battle. The weapon fired, and the Council's ship erupted in a ball of fire, signaling the collapse of their orbital presence. Cheers once again erupted, but the victory felt hollow. Humanity had won the day, but the cost had been high. Cities lay in ruins, countless lives had been lost, and though the Council's fleet had been crippled, the war was far from over. The aftermath. As the smoke cleared and the last of the alien invaders were driven back, Earth's leaders gathered to assess the situation. The Council had underestimated humanity, but they wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Earth had shown that it could fight, but now it had to prepare for the inevitable retaliation. General Coleman stood before a crowd of soldiers, civilians, and leaders alike. "Today, we showed the galaxy that humanity will not be conquered. But make no mistake, this war is just beginning. The Council will come back, and when they do, we will be ready." The crowd erupted into applause, their spirits lifted by the knowledge that they had not only survived, but had won the first battle of what would be a long and brutal war. The Galactic Council strikes back. Though Earth had won its first stand, the Galactic Council was far from defeated. As the Council regrouped, they devised a new strategy to bring humanity to its knees. Little did they know, humanity had surprises of its own. What comes next is a battle of wits, technology, and raw determination as Earth prepares for the full wrath of the galaxy's most powerful force. Part 2 will continue with the Council's retaliation and humanity's preparations for the next stage of the war. Humanity's strategic gamble. The news of Earth's decisive victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Species who had once dismissed humans as primitive or even irrelevant were now watching them closely and with newfound respect or fear. The Galactic Council's defeat at the hands of Earth had shattered the illusion of their invincibility. But the Council wasn't going to sit idle. As Earth's economy and technological prowess grew, so did the tension with the Free Worlds Alliance, an alliance of rogue planets that had long resisted the Council's authority. The Free Worlds Alliance emerges. The Free Worlds Alliance, led by the formidable Commander Ralov, saw Earth's growing influence as a direct threat to their autonomy. Ralov, a battle-hardened leader of the insectoid Sithara species, had spent decades pushing back against the Council's dominance. But now, with the humans standing shoulder to shoulder with the Council, he feared that his rebel coalition would soon be crushed under the combined might of both powers. Ralov knew the time had come to make a stand. Gathering his most trusted generals, Ralov called for a strategic meeting in the underground war chambers of Varthrol, a volcanic moon on the fringes of Alliance-controlled space. The atmosphere was tense as the commanders reviewed the latest intelligence on Earth's military capabilities, particularly the devastating EMP cannon that had disabled the Council's fleet. Ralov clicked his mandibles as he studied the holographic map. "Earth is a wild card," he growled, his voice deep and reverberating through the chamber. "They are not like the other Council races. They think differently, fight differently, and that makes them dangerous. We must act now, before they become too powerful. Earth's diplomatic move. Meanwhile, on Earth, human leaders were not oblivious to the rising tensions. In the capital city of New Geneva, a summit was called to discuss the looming threat of the Free Worlds Alliance. President Sophia Drayton, a sharp and pragmatic leader, had spearheaded Earth's rise to power. She had guided humanity through the early years of their independence, and now she was tasked with navigating the complex web of galactic politics. Drayton stood before a council of Earth's top military officials, scientists, and diplomats. "The Free Worlds Alliance sees us as a threat, and they're not wrong," she said, her voice calm but firm. "But we don't need another war. We've just come out of a brutal conflict with the Council. Our people need time to rebuild, to innovate, not to bleed on another battlefield." General Ethan Cole, head of Earth's military forces, nodded in agreement. "Madam President, I agree, but we can't ignore the possibility that the Alliance might strike first. They're not the Council. They're unpredictable." Drayton considered this for a moment, then turned to Dr. Amani Vega, the brilliant scientist who had developed the EMP cannon that had turned the tide of the war. "Dr. Vega, is there a way we can demonstrate our power without using it?" Dr. Vega, a tall woman with striking silver hair, smiled faintly. "There is always a way, Madam President. The question is, are we willing to take a gamble? Negotiating with the enemy." Weeks later, a human delegation was sent to the neutral planet of Cryon 9, a desolate, barren world that had become known as the go-to place for high-stakes diplomatic negotiations. It was here that Earth's representatives would meet face-to-face with Commander Ralov and his alliance. The delegation was led by Ambassador Mark Reynolds, a seasoned diplomat with a reputation for being unshakable under pressure. Alongside him was Dr. Vega, a tactical genius as much as she was a scientist. Together, they represented the very essence of humanity's strategic strength, both in negotiation and in warfare. As their shuttle touched down on Cryon 9, the tension in the air was palpable. The human delegation was greeted by a group of Scytheran soldiers, their long insect-like bodies covered in chitinous armor, eyes glowing faintly in the planet's weak light. Ralov stood at the front, his imposing figure exuding power and command. "Humans," Ralov's voice boomed as the delegation approached, "you come here to talk, but your weapons speak louder than your words." Reynolds didn't flinch. "Commander Ralov, we didn't come here to trade threats. We came to discuss the future of our galaxy." Ralov's mandibles twitched as he studied the humans in front of him. "The free worlds will not bow to Earth or the Council," he spat. "We fought too long and too hard to escape their tyranny." "We don't want to conquer you," Dr. Vega interjected. "We want to work with you." Ralov narrowed his eyes. "Work with us? And what would Earth gain from this? Partnership?" "The human offer." Reynolds stepped forward, his tone calm but resolute. "We know the Alliance doesn't trust the Council, but Earth is not the Council. We've proven that. What we offer is an opportunity, an alliance, but on our terms. We share technology, resources, and most importantly, freedom from the Council's grasp." Ralov's antennae twitched in suspicion. "And in return, what do you want from us?" Dr. Vega smiled slightly. "We want peace, and we want you to stand with us against the Council's expansion. You know as well as we do that the Council will eventually come for you, just as they did for us." Ralov tilted his head, considering their words. The offer was tempting, but he wasn't ready to trust so easily. "And what of your EMP cannon? The weapon that crippled the Council fleet. You expect us to believe you won't turn that against us if we refuse?" Reynolds met Ralov's gaze steadily. "If we wanted to use it against you, we wouldn't be standing here talking. We're offering you a seat at the table, Commander. Together, we can ensure that no one species holds power over the others." Ralov's decision. For a long moment, silence hung between them, the tension thick in the air. Ralov looked at the human delegation, then at his own soldiers. His mind raced, calculating the risks and rewards. The humans had proven themselves to be formidable opponents, but they had also demonstrated an uncanny ability to unite rather than conquer. Finally, Ralof spoke, his voice low and measured. "I will consider your offer, but know this: if Earth betrays the Alliance, we will show no mercy." Reynolds nodded, unfazed by the threat. "We wouldn't expect anything less." As the negotiations concluded, the human delegation left Cryon 9, hopeful but wary. The future of the galaxy now rested on the fragile alliance between Earth and the free worlds, and whether both sides could trust each other long enough to face the true threat, the ever-looming shadow of the Galactic Council. A new dawn. Back on Earth, President Drayton received the news of the negotiations with cautious optimism. The alliance with the free worlds could be the key to ensuring humanity's place in the galaxy without further bloodshed. But she knew better than to place all her trust in fragile alliances. "We've won a battle, not the war," she said to General Cole, who stood beside her in the war room. General Cole nodded, his expression grim. "The Council won't sit back for long. They'll be planning their next move." Drayton's eyes hardened. "Let them plan. Earth will be ready." As the planet prepared for whatever came next, one thing was certain: humanity's future was no longer a matter of survival. It was about dominance, strategy, and navigating the treacherous waters of galactic politics. The galaxy was changing, and Earth was at the helm, steering toward an uncertain but undeniably powerful destiny. Shadows of the Council. While Earth and the Free Worlds Alliance cautiously moved toward cooperation, the Galactic Council was not idle. Defeat at the hands of the humans was a humiliation they could not afford to let stand. The Council had ruled the galaxy for millennia, and Earth's victory had not only undermined their authority, but also emboldened dissidents across dozens of star systems. Now, rebellion simmered on planets where the Council's iron grip had once seemed unbreakable. In the Council's grand chambers, deep within the artificial planet of Alex Prime, the ruling body convened for a session that would determine the galaxy's fate. The chamber was a massive structure, filled with towering holographic representations of each member species, and dominated by the massive, central figure of Archon Tyrellis, leader of the Council. Archon Tyrellis, an imposing figure with translucent skin and elongated limbs, stood before the assembled members. His voice, cold and authoritative, reverberated throughout the chamber. "We have been weakened, but not defeated. Humanity's momentary victory was an anomaly, one we must correct." Seated around Tyrellis were the most powerful leaders of the Council's member species, the enigmatic and psychic Shireen, the towering and militaristic Kroganar, the calculating Silvarians, and the technologically advanced Votari. The Council had ruled through a combination of fear, diplomacy, and technological superiority. But now, with the rise of Earth, their authority was slipping. The Shireen emissary, an ethereal being with glowing eyes and a voice that seemed to echo in the minds of all present, spoke next. "We underestimated these humans. Their resilience, their unpredictability. We must not make the same mistake again." The Kroganar warlord, General Targok, slammed a massive fist onto the table. "This is a matter of pride. The humans have insulted the honor of the Council. We should crush them now, before they grow too powerful." Tyrellis raised a hand, silencing Targok. "Blunt force has its place, General, but humanity's victory came through cunning and innovation, not brute strength. We must be equally cunning." The Council's attention shifted to Director Coltrax of the Votari, a species renowned for their technological prowess. Coltrax, a tall, slender being with metallic implants and glowing circuitry running along his body, had been instrumental in designing the Council's most advanced weapons and starships. "We've already begun enhancing our fleet's defensive capabilities," Coltrax said, his voice precise and mechanical. "However, I propose a more subtle approach. We could exploit humanity's weaknesses, internal divisions, political strife. No species is immune to self-destruction." Tyrellis nodded slowly, considering the Votari's proposal. We must break them from within, then strike when they are weakest. But first, we will need to learn more about these humans, their psychology, their culture, their leadership. I propose we deploy the Spectres. The Spectres, the Council's secret weapon. The Spectres were an elite force known only in the deepest circles of the Council. They were covert operatives, trained in espionage, sabotage, and assassination. For centuries, the Spectres had quietly eliminated threats to the Council's rule, rebellious leaders, dissident factions, and now, Earth. Leading the Spectres was a shadowy figure known only as Lyrian, a master tactician and a ghost among spies. Lyrian's mission was simple: infiltrate Earth, destabilize its leadership, and weaken its alliances, especially with the free worlds. In the dark recesses of Alex Prime, Lyrian received the Council's orders, clad in advanced stealth armor that allowed her to blend seamlessly with her surroundings. Lyrian was a being of few words. Her eyes glinted with determination as she reviewed the mission. Humanity's triumph was built on unity, Lyrian murmured to herself. Let's see how well they fare when that unity is shattered. A gathering storm on Earth. Back on Earth, the newly formed alliance with the free worlds was fragile, and tensions were mounting within the human leadership. As the planets of the free worlds began integrating Earth's advanced technology, many on Earth's governing council began to question the wisdom of sharing their military secrets with former enemies. In a high-security meeting room in New Geneva, President Drayton sat with her closest advisors, including General Ethan Cole and Ambassador Mark Reynolds. We fought ourselves time with this alliance, but make no mistake, Ralov doesn't trust us. He's a warlord, and warlords are always looking for the next advantage, General Cole warned. We need to be careful about how much we give them. Ambassador Reynolds leaned back in his chair, frowning. If we hold back too much, they'll think we're trying to manipulate them. This alliance could collapse before it even begins. Drayton sat silently for a moment, weighing her options. We have to walk a fine line, she said finally. We need the alliance to stand with us against the Council, but we can't afford to look weak or desperate. Dr. Amani Vega, who had been listening intently, spoke up. What about the Spectres? We know the Council will try to destabilize us, and they'll likely send their best operatives. We need to be prepared for sabotage from within. Drayton nodded grimly. We've already increased security protocols, but if the Spectres are involved, it may not be enough. They're experts in covert operations. We need to find them before they find us. His sabotage begins. Unknown to Earth's leadership, Lyrian had already arrived. Disguised as a foreign diplomat from a minor star system, she infiltrated New Geneva with ease. Her first target, the Alliance itself. Lyrian's plan was meticulous. She began by planting false intelligence, sowing distrust between Earth and the free worlds. Ralov, always wary of betrayal, was quick to take the bait. Soon, whispers of Earth's true intentions reached his ears, rumors that Earth was only using the Alliance as a shield and would abandon them once the Council was defeated. Back on Earth, key political figures began receiving anonymous messages warning of Ralov's ambitions. The messages claimed that the free worlds were preparing for a coup, intending to overthrow Earth's leadership and take control of the galaxy themselves. Tensions between the two allies rose quickly. Small skirmishes erupted between human and free worlds ships patrolling the neutral zones, each side blaming the other for provocations. What had begun as a tenuous alliance was now on the brink of collapse, exactly as the Council had planned to feed battle for unity. In the midst of the growing chaos, President Drayton called for an emergency meeting with Ralov on neutral ground. She knew that if Earth and the free worlds didn't resolve their differences quickly, the Council would take advantage and crush them both. The meeting took place on the ancient space station of Seraphis, an abandoned relic from a forgotten war. The station was neutral territory, its cold, metallic halls a reminder of the galaxy's long history of conflict. Drayton arrived with General Cole and Ambassador Reynolds, while Ralov brought his top advisors. The tension between the two groups was palpable. We're not here to point fingers, Drayton began, her tone firm but diplomatic. We're here because the Council is the real threat. They want us to tear each other apart. If we let that happen, they've already won. Rilov's eyes narrowed. How do I know this isn't a trick? How do I know Earth isn't planning to betray us once the Council is defeated? Before Drayton could respond, General Coles spoke up. Because we're standing here, unarmed, on neutral ground. If we wanted to betray you, we wouldn't be risking our lives like this. Rilov was silent for a long moment, his gaze shifting between the humans in front of him. Finally, he spoke. Perhaps you're right, but trust is not given, it's earned. You'll need to prove your loyalty, Drayton. Words are not enough. As the two sides negotiated, far away on Alex Prime, Arch and Tyrellis watched through hidden eyes. Lyrian's sabotage had set the stage for the Council's next move, but the final blow had yet to be struck. The Council would not wait much longer. Soon, the galaxy would tremble as Earth, the free worlds, and the Council collided in a battle that would determine the future of all species. Before Drayton could respond, General Coles spoke up. Because we're standing here, unarmed, on neutral ground. If we wanted to betray you, we wouldn't be risking our lives like this. Rilov was silent for a long moment, his gaze shifting between the humans in front of him. Finally, he spoke. Perhaps you're right, but trust is not given, it's earned. You'll need to prove your loyalty, Drayton. Words are not enough. As the two sides negotiated, far away on Alex Prime, Arch and Tyrellis watched through hidden eyes. Lyrian's sabotage had set the stage for the Council's next move, but the final blow had yet to be struck. The Council would not wait much longer. Soon, the galaxy would tremble as Earth, the free worlds, and the Council collided in a battle that would determine the future of all species. The thin line between peace and war. The negotiations at the Seraphis station had calmed tensions, but only temporarily. President Drayton and Ralov had reached a fragile agreement. They would focus on their shared enemy, the Galactic Council, and avoid internal conflicts for now. But despite that outward show of unity, doubts lingered on both sides. Lyrian's manipulations had done their job well. Trust was in short supply, and the alliance hung by a thread. Far from the negotiating table, the war machine of Earth and the free worlds rumbled into action. Fleets were being assembled, resources consolidated, and plans drawn for the inevitable confrontation with the Council. But even as they prepared for battle, another, subtler war was being fought, one of spies, shadows, and secrets. Spectres in the shadows. Lyrian's work was far from over. Though she had sown the seeds of distrust, the alliance still stood, which meant her mission wasn't complete. She had begun infiltrating deeper into Earth's military and political infrastructure, seeking to uncover its greatest weaknesses. Posing as an envoy from a neutral system, Lyrian had gained access to key military installations under the guise of diplomatic visits. But Earth's security, though tight, was unprepared for the kind of invisible threat she posed. Her Spectre training allowed her to bypass biometric scanners and surveillance drones, moving like a ghost through New Geneva's most sensitive facilities. Lyrian's next target was Earth's advanced war eye Athena, housed deep within the planet's subterranean command center. Athena was Earth's most powerful asset, an artificial intelligence designed to coordinate the defense of the entire planet and its fleet. If she could compromise it, Earth's ability to wage war would be crippled before the first battle even began. But Lyrian wasn't the only one working in the shadows. Earth's own intelligence agency, the Directorate, had been monitoring suspicious activity ever since the alliance with the Free Worlds had formed. And now, one of their top agents, Commander Elena Wolf, had begun to close in on Lyrian's trail. The pursuit. Commander Wolf was a seasoned veteran of covert operations, having spent years thwarting Council espionage efforts. She knew the Spectres well, having studied their methods for decades. When the Directorate intercepted a fragment of encrypted Council communications, Wolf suspected a Spectre was already on Earth, operating undetected. Using a network of informants and data analysts, Wolf began piecing together the Spectre's movements. The trail was faint. Lyrian had covered her tracks well, but small anomalies began to surface. Unauthorized access to restricted files, subtle shifts in troop deployments, and false reports planted in the media to spark distrust. Wolf followed these breadcrumbs, closing in on Lyrian's location. She knew that if the Spectre succeeded in compromising Athena, Earth's entire war effort could collapse. The clock was ticking. The battle for Athenaeus, Lyrian made her way deeper into the command center. She encountered a series of complex security measures. Earth's engineers had not made it easy to access Athena. Biometric locks, laser grids, and neural interface codes protected the AI core, each one more difficult to bypass than the last. But Lyrian was no ordinary operative. Her suit, equipped with council-grade cloaking technology, rendered her nearly invisible to surveillance systems. Her neural implants allowed her to hack into Earth's security protocols in real time. Slowly but surely, she made her way toward the heart of Athena's system. Unbeknownst to Lyrian, Commander Wolf had already anticipated her target. Wolf and her team moved in silence, tracking Lyrian's faint digital footprint as she navigated the command center. Wolf's strategy was simple: let the Spectre think she had the upper hand, then strike when she least expected it. As Lyrian approached Athena's core, Wolf's team activated a security lockdown. The entire section of the command center was sealed off, trapping Lyrian inside. Alarms blared, and automated defense drones whirred to life, blocking her path. Lyrian cursed under her breath. She had been careful, but not careful enough. With lightning speed, she activated her stealth systems and moved to evade the drones, her mind racing with possible escape routes. But Wolf was ready. "Spectre Lyrian," Wolf's voice echoed through the command center's comm system. "You're good, but not good enough." Lyrian didn't respond. Instead, she doubled back, using her cloaking field to stay one step ahead of the security drones. But Wolf had anticipated this too. She had studied the layout of the command center, predicting Lyrian's moves based on known tactics. As Lyrian reached a service corridor, hoping to escape the lockdown, she found herself face to face with Wolf, her blaster trained on her. "You've got nowhere to run," Wolf said coldly. "Surrender and I might let you live." Lyrian's eyes flicked to the exit, calculating her odds. She could try to fight, but Wolf had the advantage. In a split-second decision, Lyrian triggered a concussive blast from her suit, knocking Wolf back long enough to make her escape. But as she fled, Lyrian knew her mission had failed. Athena was secure, and Earth's defenses would remain intact for now. The Council's final gambit. Back on Alex Prime, Arch and Tyrellis watched the unfolding events with a growing sense of urgency. Lyrian's failure had set back the Council's plans, but it wasn't enough to stop their final gambit. The time for subtlety was over. The Council's armada, hidden in the depths of uncharted space, had been gathering for months. Massive warships, bristling with weapons capable of devastating entire planets, now moved into position. Tyrellis knew that Earth's forces, even bolstered by the free worlds, would struggle to stand against the full might of the Council. But the Council had more than just brute force at its disposal. Tyrellis had authorized the use of the Rift, an ancient, forbidden technology capable of opening a tear in spacetime itself. With the Rift, the Council could bypass Earth's defenses and strike at its very heart without warning. As the Armada moved into position, the Council's scientists activated the Rift device. A swirling vortex of energy appeared before the fleet, distorting the fabric of space around it. Through this portal, the Council's ships would travel, bypassing Earth's fleets and launching a surprise assault on the planet itself. But unknown to the Council, their actions had not gone unnoticed. Deep within the free worlds, a mysterious faction known as the Wardens of the Rift had been watching. This ancient order, long thought to be extinct, had guarded the galaxy against the use of forbidden technologies like the Rift for millennia. Now, As the Council prepared to unleash their final weapon, the Wardens emerged from the shadows, determined to stop them at any cost. A galaxy on the brink with the Council's armada preparing to launch its surprise attack through the rift, Earth and the free worlds were thrust into a race against time. President Drayton and Ralov had no idea that their enemy was about to bypass their defenses entirely. Their fleets, positioned at the edge of the solar system, were ready to engage the Council head-on, but they were completely unprepared for an assault directly on Earth itself. Commander Wolf, still reeling from her encounter with Lyrian, received word of the Council's use of the rift. She knew there was little time to warn the rest of the fleet. But as Earth's defenses mobilized, it was clear that even with their combined might, they might not be enough to stop the coming storm. In the heart of the free worlds, Ralov too received the urgent message from the Wardens of the Rift. They offered their assistance, but at a price. The Wardens demanded that the rift be destroyed, along with all knowledge of how to create it, no matter the cost to the galaxy. Ralov, torn between his desire for victory and the ethical implications of using such dangerous technology, faced a choice that could alter the course of history. Should he side with the Wardens and risk weakening his position, or harness the power of the rift for himself? As the Council's fleet prepared to enter the rift, Earth and the free worlds stood at the edge of destruction. The fate of the galaxy rested in the balance, as alliances, betrayals, and ancient powers collided in a battle that would determine the future of all life among the stars. The final showdown was coming, and in the end, only one side would emerge victorious. The Warden's ultimatum. Ralov sat in his command chamber, deep in thought. The Warden's offer had come at a critical moment. Their knowledge of the rift technology could be invaluable, but their ultimatum posed a serious dilemma. If he agreed to their terms, it would mean eliminating one of the most powerful weapons the galaxy had ever known. Yet to refuse might condemn them all to destruction at the hands of the Council. Ralov's advisors urged caution, but he was not one to shy away from difficult choices. He knew that survival often required sacrifices. The Wardens were unpredictable, and trusting them fully could backfire. Still, they were the only faction capable of understanding the full scope of the rift's potential. A comm alert interrupted his thoughts. It was President Drayton. Earth's intelligence had intercepted a message about the Council's use of the rift. Ralov, Drayton's voice came through, sharp and urgent. We need to move quickly. The Council is making its play. If we don't act now, Earth will fall. Ralov nodded gravely. We have a new factor to consider, the Wardens of the Rift. They've offered to help, but with conditions. We either destroy the Rift technology or risk losing everything. Drayton's face darkened. We're running out of time. Can we trust them? Ralov sighed. It's a gamble, but I believe their motives are genuine. The real question is whether we're willing to sacrifice this weapon to stop the Council. Drayton's expression hardened. Then we have no choice. We stop the Council first, then decide what to do with the rift. Let's prepare for battle. The fleet assembles. In the void of space, the combined fleets of Earth and the free worlds began to converge. Massive battlecruisers, sleek starfighters, and heavily armed dreadnoughts filled the space between planets, ready for the looming confrontation. Despite the tensions between their governments, the crews worked in unison, preparing for what was likely to be the final battle for the fate of the galaxy. Commander Elena Wolf, now fully recovered from her encounter with Lyrian, stood aboard the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Resolute. From her vantage point, she watched as thousands of ships formed into combat formations. The Council's fleet will come through the rift any moment now, Wolf said to her tactical officer. We need to be ready. Suddenly, her comm buzzed. A transmission from the Wardens of the Rift. Wolf had heard rumors about the Wardens, but this was the first time she had dealt with them directly. A hooded figure appeared on the holoscreen. Commander Wolf, the Wardens spoke in a calm, yet commanding tone. We understand you plan to engage the Council's fleet. Be warned, should they pass through the rift, no force in this galaxy will be able to stop them. Wolf's eyes narrowed. What are you suggesting? The rift must be closed before the council can use it. If you delay, you doom us all. We will assist you in this endeavor, but you must act swiftly. Wolf hesitated for only a moment. Understood. We're mobilizing now. The race against time had begun. As Earth's and the free world's forces prepared for war, the Wardens moved in the shadows, ready to make their play. Through the rift. On the bridge of the Archon's Fury, the lead ship of the Council's armada, Archon Tyrellis watched as the swirling vortex of the rift expanded before them. The ship's engines hummed with power as they prepared to cross the threshold into Earth's solar system. We will strike before they even know what hit them, Tyrellis muttered, a cold smile on his face. The rift shimmered and pulsed with unnatural energy, its chaotic patterns reflecting in the eyes of every council officer aboard the ship. As the fleet prepared to jump through, an alert sounded. Multiple contacts were closing in fast. Archon, a lieutenant shouted, enemy ships are moving to intercept. Earth's fleet is positioning itself near the rift. Tyrellis clenched his fists. They're too late. Begin the jump. The massive warships of the Council fleet surged forward, their prows glowing as they entered the rift's distorted field of space. The countdown to Earth's destruction had begun. Part 8. The Last Stand. Earth's and the Free World's fleets arrived just as the first Council ships emerged from the rift. The battle erupted in a storm of lasers, missiles, and plasma bursts. Ships from both sides exploded in fiery balls of debris as the void was filled with the chaos of war. Commander Wolf barked orders from the bridge of the Resolute, directing her forces with precision. But even as the combined fleet fought valiantly, it became clear that they were barely holding the line. The Council's forces were too numerous, and their technological advantage too great. On the other side of the battlefield, Ralov's ships engaged the Council's flanks, desperately trying to stem the tide. Yet even with all their might, the enemy's advance seemed unstoppable. In the midst of the chaos, a new transmission came through. It was the Wardens. We are activating our countermeasures, the Warden leader said. Prepare to close the rift. Rolov's eyes widened. You can do that. We can, but it will require a massive energy surge, and someone to stay behind to trigger it. Rolov knew what that meant. He glanced at the battle raging outside the viewport. Do it. We'll buy you the time. As the Wardens began their work, the fate of the galaxy hung on a knife's edge.